My name is Hannah, and today I'm going to be talking about Historicism, which is from Week Nine's Literature and History. I'm sure you're probably thinking, what is Historicism? What does it mean? And that is what I am here to tell you today. Historicism is a theory that explores the relationship between literature and history. By providing historical background, historicists believe that this adds depth and a heightened understanding to literature, rejecting the separation of literature from its historical context. Consider Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Without regarding its historical context, one could argue that Frankenstein is simply a narrative about a hubristic scientist who manipulates his scientific endeavours to birth a new artificial life form. But when considering the historical context, being the dichotomy of the Enlightenment versus Romanticism era, the narrative is transformed into a manifestation of these ideas, a beautiful romantic tale warning of the dangers the Enlightenment brings with it. Beyond historicism lies New Historicism, a critical literary movement developed in the 1980s. Much like historicism, it emphasises the interconnectedness of literature and its historical context, suggesting there is a corresponding relationship between the two. This idea that whilst historical context shapes literature, literature shapes history. New historicists analyse historical documents and events and explore the impact such documents and events have on literature. One thing that distinctly separates New Historicism from historicism is the New Historicist focus on socio-political context, and also the relationship between literature and power, where historicists focus more exclusively on just historical contexts. In the chapter History in an Introduction to Literature, Criticism and Theory, Bennett and Royal discuss ideas of historicism. Bennett and Royal surface ideas of old historicists who believe that history is not so much textual, but rather a series of empirically verifiable events. Personally, I would say this ignores room for interpretation in history, but it is nonetheless interesting to explore the development of historicism. It is of course important to consider that whilst historical context is important in aiding one's comprehension of a text, as Bennett and Royal state, it is important for historical context not to be construed as the background or key to understanding a text. Many people try to dispute the fundamentals of historicism, with new critics, as Bennett and Royal note, making claims such as the idea that literary texts are artefacts that transcend the contingencies of any particular time or place. I, however, disagree. Literary texts cannot be removed from the context, be that historical, socio-political, whatever, as the author themselves cannot be. The author will always be impacted by the context, be that not just their ethics and politics, but the way they think, the way they learn, the way they write, therefore rendering it virtually impossible to not let their work be impacted by context. Everything impacts everything. As later noted by Bennett and Royal, everything is connected.